Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thanks for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, gonna do the weekend preview for Saturday, November 13th. I usually don't do like the whole day anymore like I used to, but I'm doing that now because there really isn't, there's three main events really to talk about, and that's it, between three different cards. The undercards aren't really that great, so I'm just gonna get into the main events, pretty much three fights. We're going to kick it off with the DAZN main event that's taking place from the United Kingdom earlier in the day. And that's going to feature Kid Galahad, the newly crowned IBF featherweight champion of the world at 126 pounds. He captured his belt back in August, won the vacant title, defeating DAZN Dickens in a rematch from their bout back in 2013, where he also stopped Dickens late in that fight. And he repeated that with a 12th round stoppage win. As he captured his first world title. Now he's going to make the first defense of his belt against former junior featherweight champ at 122, Kiko Martinez. The consummate veteran Martinez, hasn't done much since he hasn't been really a relevant threat in a while, but he actually didn't look that bad in his last real test when he took on super featherweight contender Zelfa Barrett at 130 pounds. Zelfa Barrett, another fighter from the United Kingdom, if he's considered to really be on the level, he should have been able to handle Martinez without a problem, but he did have a little bit of a problem with Martinez. Wasn't a complete dominant fight for Barrett. Barrett beat him by a unanimous decision, but Kiko Martinez was in that fight. He made it a rough, tough fight, and Martinez is just always a guy that's going to bring it no matter how he loses the fight. But he's got 10 losses in his career, 4 by knockout. So Kid Galahad's coming in a heavy favorite into this fight. And he should be. And Galahad's right there near the top of featherweight. I got him, I believe I have him at like number 2 or 3 right now. And, this one is just kind of shake off some rust. Stay busy kind of fight, whichever way you want to look at it. It's not a huge threat, in my opinion, in Kiko Martinez, but also a guy you don't want to overlook because he's a veteran and he's been there and done that. But I think Kid Galahad, right now, I think he might be the best fighter at featherweight, period, and that includes Gary Russell. I think Galahad might even beat Gary Russell. Galahad's kind of coming to his own. He fought Josh Warrington a couple years ago, back in 2019, to a controversial split decision loss, and now he wants to make a name for himself and throw himself towards the top of the division, set up the big fights, and he wants to continue to showcase himself, and he's got a good guy with Eddie Hearn to do that. So I think he's going to go in there. I don't think he should have too much of an issue with Kiko. He's a better boxer. I think he can handle Kiko's pressure. I think he's going to outbox him, outclass him, and I think he's going to stop him in the middle to later rounds. I think he's hungry, and I think he wants it bad. So I got Kid Galahad winning this fight by a stoppage in the middle to later rounds. That's earlier in the day on DAZN. Also on DAZN, starting at 6 o'clock West Coast time, you got Jaime Munguia versus Gabriel Rosado in a middleweight showdown. This is a big fight right here between these two guys. Munguia continues to try to prove himself at middleweight, set himself up for a championship in the second weight class. He's undefeated. He's a former champ at 154, taking on a guy 10 years his senior in Gabriel Rosado, the veteran, former world title challenger. But Rosado has been hot lately. He really has. He lost a controversial split decision to Danny Jacobs last November, and then followed that up with an upset third round knockout of what's his name? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now. Of Bektamir Melikuziev, who is an undefeated, highly regarded prospect on the rise at super middleweight. And, he left no doubt. He went in there and dominated, caught him in the third round with a wicked right hand in a fight where he got put down, towards the end of the first round. So I take back saying he dominated, but he set himself up. He's fearless. Gabriel Rosado continues to be a threat to anybody, but he's coming back down to 160. to take this fight with Munguia, and I think that's going to be the swan song, the biggest, what would you call that? Biggest standout of the fight is going to be the weight difference, in my opinion. I think Munguia is going to take advantage of the fact that Rosado's cutting weight, and he's going to pound on Rosado, and he's also going to mix in that jab and some hooks, and I think it's going to be a solid performance. I think he's going to stop Rosado in the late rounds and stay undefeated and keep pushing forward, but don't count out Gabriel Rosado. He's a live underdog at all times, and he's been there, he's done that. He's also been boxing more in his last couple fights, trying to set up his shot, so maybe a counter shot could really hurt Munguia, who we saw get hurt last year against Spike O'Sullivan, and he's definitely there to be hit, so we'll see what happens. But that's the main event of the DAZN card, starting at 6 o'clock, and quite honestly, I don't know anything about the undercard. The website I go through hasn't really shown an undercard for that, so I don't think it's really going to be that big of an undercard at all, but you never know. But Munguia Rosado should be entertaining for the first half of the fight. I think it's going to be pretty competitive, but I think Munguia is going to figure Rosado out, and he's going to get to him, and I think he's going to stop him and stay undefeated. Okay, now the main event on Showtime. I think it's the biggest fight of the day. And that's going to see David Benavidez, the undefeated former two-time super middleweight champion of the world at 168 pounds, attempt to put himself in line for Canelo at some point, whether it be next or sometime later, sometime next year maybe. He's taking on Kyrone Davis, who, is coming off of a draw with Anthony Durrell, the former two-time champ, so Davis is riding that strong. He came in a heavy underdog against Durrell, and he fought his ass off, and he was able to pull off a draw. So now he's coming in, he's replacing former champ Jose Ustadegui, who's supposed to fight Benavidez. He's replacing him, and he looks to be hungry and want to take this. So should be an interesting fight. I'm really looking forward to it. That's taking place on Saturday night on Showtime. Benavidez is hungry, though. I think he's going in there to win spectacularly and to become this is essentially a WBC final eliminator. I think he's hungry. He's coming to get it. I think he's going to knock him out and win this fight and stay undefeated and push forward towards trying to be world champion again and possibly get in line for Canelo. So we'll see what happens. That's Saturday, November 13th. You got Galahad versus Martinez for the IBF featherweight title at 126 on DAZN earlier in the day from the United Kingdom. You got Munguia versus Rosado in a middleweight showdown at on DAZN in the main event. That's later on in the evening, starting at 6 o'clock, the whole card. And then I believe starting at 7 o'clock that evening on Showtime, you got Benavidez versus Kyrone Davis, super middleweight WBC final eliminator, and Benavidez's older brother, Jose Benavidez from welterweight, former world title challenger, is also returning in the co-feature, taking on Emmanuel Torres. So I hope you guys are going to watch this weekend. It should be good. That's the preview for Saturday, November 13th. I hope you guys enjoyed this. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.